With the commitments of high-impact nonprofit organizations, the Alliance is once again demonstrating its national leadership.
Indeed, we are faced with some challenging times, which places a demand on us as leaders to lead in a manner that is courageous and in many ways disruptive.
The reach of these commitments goes beyond the nonprofit human serving community.
We think that these commitments are incredibly relevant to the time and to our particular geographic domain.
Because of the commitments, more human serving nonprofits and the communities they serve will have brighter futures and better experiences.
Future efforts will not only be aligned, but they'll be much more strategic and better able to take on the complexities of our community's challenges.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Diefenbach, Senior Vice President of Marketing and Philanthropy for the Alliance for Children and Families. Thank you for tuning in today. You're one of hundreds of members from our Alliance network across the country and other sector leaders who've tuned in to this rather unprecedented event for us to learn about the commitments of high-impact nonprofit organizations. This is the Alliance's new framework that provides a recipe for transformation that will help each organization reach its capacity in terms of achieving impact in its community. For the next 30 minutes, we'll learn more about the commitments, how they came to be, and the payoff that can come from them. And each of you has received an event kit that has some materials in it that will help you work through this program, so have that close at hand. We hope that at least some of you are watching this with your exec team or with your board members, because obviously those are groups that have a stake in being high impact as well. I want to first welcome, as a way of getting into the commitments, the President and CEO of the Alliance for Children and Families, Susan Dreyfus. Hi, Susan.
Hey, Doug.
Wanted to see if you would start us off by talking a little bit about the commitments and kind of put them in context and why you think they're going to be very valuable for the sector.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we're just really excited about the commitments. It's kind of a window dressing to what's been several years of some really great successes for the Alliance for Children and Families, as we've been doing, I think, a great job in networking our members, helping to move best practices across the country. And the thing we love doing more than anything is mobilizing this network for larger impact, whether it's at the national level, the state level, or at the local level. We decided here a couple of years back that while being a great organization for our network, we also too have a cause at the Alliance for Children and Families. And that's with and through the power of this network, we want to help solve some of society's toughest problems. How do we get underneath root causes of poverty? How do we make sure that more people are living safe and healthy lives? And how do we help more people be on pathways for education and employment success? And if you cut apart everything that our agencies do and you focus on what they achieve, ultimately, that's the larger call of our sector within communities across the country. So back in 2011, we put out a signature report that I credit Peter Goldberg for, and it's called Disruptive Forces. And Disruptive Forces was about the significant challenges and opportunities facing our sector today. But what we realized after a couple of years of being out there talking about those disruptive forces is we needed to give our agencies a path forward. And we believe that by really focusing in on what are those capacities of high-impact organizations, what makes them not just great providers but great leaders, what makes them not just great leaders but great influencers within their communities and in our nation overall. We did this significant amount of work. I'm so proud of our team. They surpassed my expectations. They developed this framework called the Commitments of High-Impact Organizations that I believe can give every nonprofit human-serving organization in America the clarity and the confidence they need to know they have the path forward for the future.
Well, Susan, something that seems to be this far-reaching obviously has had deep roots and a lot of development put into it. Do you want to address that at all, how these came to be?
Well, I think what people know is kind of like how the Alliance rolls, right? We don't do anything in a vacuum. We go out into the field, we listen, we learn, we innovate, and we really pride ourselves on being a significant radar function. And the way we do that is by having our pulse on what's going on. Mm-hmm. So the commitments were developed by a really deep dive that we took with our strategy count sites, and I'm sure you'll be learning more about, with our staff, with other leaders in our network, and with leaders outside of our network, in helping us to articulate what the commitments of high-impact organizations are so we could indeed give people that pathway into the future. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go out to the field just a bit to find out more about how the commitments were developed. And for this, we have Mike Mortel, who's the director of the Strategy Counts program at the Alliance for Children and Families, and Guillermina Hernandez-Gallegos, who is the senior director of human services at the Kresge Foundation. They're appearing with us today from a remote location at the Kresge Foundation. My first question, Mike, I'd like to ask you, can you tell me a little bit about how the commitments came to be developed?
Well, thanks, Doug. There really is a sense of urgency for nonprofits to transform. The disruptive forces are driving a human services revolution and shifting the landscape for nonprofits. We've seen changes in the nature of care, shifts in government support, and really a greater need to document impact.
I understand that Kresge played a very important role in the development of the commitments. Can you explain that a little bit for us?
So the Kresge Foundation made a $5.4 million investment with the Alliance through its Strategy Counts initiative. And with 20 pilot sites over multiple years, it's become a powerful learning lab on nonprofit transformation. And major insights from Strategy Counts are embedded in the commitments. Let's face it, nonprofits have a multitude of challenges and disruptive forces. The 20 pilot sites have really demonstrated that strategic planning and its effective deployment really does count when it comes to transformation and community impact.
Guillermina, from your point of view, how was Kresge pivotal in the development of the commitments?
Thank you, Doug. Part of what the Kresge Foundation has found has been a role that's evolving for us has been this one of being a learning partner. Aside from having made the investment that Mike was talking about in terms of financial investment, we've also invested our own aspirations to be a learning partner so that as the labs, the different project elements were put in place, we've been a steady partner in understanding how things have been implemented and the lessons learned as well. We've found, for example, that the observations around how services are being delivered differently, how the different business models have been emerging, as well as the values that animate this work have all been part of how these commitments surfaced, and it's been a great partnership in that respect.
Mike, obviously this set of ideas, as we've discussed, have obviously been developed with a great deal of rigor. Can you talk some and tell us about the research and the other method that made sure that the commitments would be highly authoritative and definitive?
So in addition to insights from the Strategy Counts initiative, the Alliance turned to authoritative sources, conducted a review of literature, sought member input, and with over 100 years of experience, has a lot to draw upon. And what you'll find in the commitments is a return to some of the timeless values that are so deeply rooted in the neighborhood centers and the settlement house movement.
Kresge, as a major foundation, is obviously focused on driving change at a systemic level for our nation. What's the value of partnering with an organization like the Alliance that offers such great reach and scope as you try to make those things happen?
This is an extraordinarily significant partnership for the Kresge Foundation. And let me share some of the ways in which we find this to be so invaluable. One, that the network, the Alliance for Children and Families, has been in existence for so many years and has been able to crystallize, synthesize a lot of the wisdom that exists within the system to drive to what is now these commitments for outstanding organizations. So the fact that this network is so vibrant, it's so embedded within the needs of communities, is an extraordinary opportunity for any funder to reach millions of people and to reach hundreds of organizations. So for us, that is one of the major values that are part of our work. We see that the organization as an umbrella organization is in really vibrant relationships with its network and its affiliates. It has this hunger to learn, to incorporate lessons learned, to be innovative, and that is showing the way for these new models that are surfacing across the human services sector. And then also trying to understand in this exact context in which we're living, what are some of these challenges that, Mike, you talked about in terms of financing and in terms of organization and deployment of assets, organizational assets and community assets, that we're all learning as this is surfacing. And for us as a Kresge Foundation, this is one of the premier opportunities for us to be both a funder, a peer, and a learner.
Mike and Germina, this is all really great perspective we're getting from you. Is there anything else that you want to add about the commitments as a concept?
Thank you for asking, Doug. Well, I want to share my excitement about the leadership that's manifest throughout this network and with Mike and all of his colleagues, with Susan Dreyfus and the board of directors. It's just extraordinary to see the courage that it takes to have that kind of self-reflection, making a commitment to how it is that you want to move forward in service of people in your communities. I also want to say that for Kresge, it's been a privilege to be a partner, and in some ways want to honor the idea of the strategic insight about looking at how can we deploy ourselves in ways that we benefit from all of our resources. So I want to say that the seed for the strategy officers was now manifest at the Kresge Foundation, where we now do have that position as a chief strategic officer. And then finally, I just want to say that it takes compassion, and it takes that kind of vision that allows for a whole network to embrace itself as a learning community. And I just want to celebrate that for all of you and for us as we join you in this partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike and Germina. You've told us a lot about how the commitments came to be, but I'm sure we all want to understand more about what really are the elements of this framework that organizations are going to use to reinvent themselves. There's a lot of material about that, but for a basic overview of the commitments, we have this video for you to consider.
Who is on the front line of making our communities better places to live? It's human-serving organizations, the many family-strengthening and community-building nonprofits that every day roll up their sleeves to reduce the number of our neighbors living in poverty, enable more people to lead safe and healthy lives, put more people on the path to educational and employment success. This work is vital, but more and more nonprofits are challenged to fulfill their missions. They face disruptive forces, changing standards of care, strict regulation, fluctuating governmental support, shifting financial models, and a growing need to document the difference they make. As a leader, how do you fulfill your organization's mission in the face of such challenges? You do it by committing to the practices and approaches that ensure genuine and lasting community impact. You do it by adopting the commitments of high-impact nonprofits. This new framework, developed by the Alliance for Children and Families, the nation's largest network of human-serving organizations, has definitively outlined what it takes for nonprofits to achieve high impact today. An organization must commit to leading with vision, embracing leaders who are not simply managers but visionaries. Governing for the future, focusing boards of directors on the horizon, not today's operations. Executing on mission, ensuring that every program is truly mission relevant. Partnering with purpose, collaborating with other community organizations to achieve outcomes. Co-creating with community, working with all elements of a community to leverage its assets and build solutions. Investing in capacity, diversifying revenue streams so the organization can be both stable and nimble. Measuring that matters, focusing on change that is both meaningful and measurable. Innovating with enterprise, embracing uncertainty and fearlessly challenging the status quo. Engaging all voices, involving residents and participants in meaningful ways in the decisions that affect their lives and neighborhoods. Advancing equity, in both internal practices and policies and external influence, relentlessly advancing the rights of all people to enjoy equal opportunity and access to economic, legal, political, and social power. These commitments and the rigors, approaches, and practices behind them outline the pathway to success for any human-serving organization, regardless of size, complexity, or focus. And the Alliance for Children and Families is reinventing itself to help organizations walk this path. Your first step is to assess your organization's maturity in each of the commitment areas using our robust assessment tools. Then, when you know where you stand, share your strengths with others through the Alliance's peer exchange groups. And, armed with a sharper awareness of your needs, tap the Alliance's resources, dialing in the customized knowledge, solutions, and expertise that can help your organization meet its challenges. The result of the Commitments journey? More resources for your organization, more volunteers, more community connections and partners, and most importantly, many more children, adults, families, and communities on the path to health and success.
That video was obviously a quick overview of some very high-level concepts, but it does give us some sense of where the commitments stand. You have more of that kind of material in the event kit that you received, and of course the report of the commitments in general is online, you can access. But really, as you listen to that video, it may, as it strikes me, that a lot of those concepts are really pretty fundamental, and they have to be more than just nice ideas if they're going to drive the kinds of change that we hope will occur. To kind of get into this with me a little bit is we have in the studio Polina Makiewski, who's the Senior Vice President of Knowledge, Leadership, and Innovation for the Alliance, and David McKinney, the Director of the Alliance's new Center for Engagement and Neighborhood Building. Polina, tell me a little bit, we have such a large organization, so many diverse organizations within the Alliance. How can this one set of ideas really be applicable to such a wide range of organizations?
Well, in our experience, Doug, we've found that no matter what an agency's size, geography, or focus, there's one thing that really unifies the network of organizations that the Alliance engages, and that is their commitment to achieving the greatest possible impact against their missions. And the commitments propose a framework to do exactly that. It lays out the core competencies and the values that organizations need to be able to master and practice in their everyday organizational lives in order to achieve that high impact.
So, Polina, what I take from what you're saying is that the commitments are not just about what we do, but how we do it as nonprofit organizations.
Well, in that regard, the how really matters. And we believe that values are a key differentiating factor for our sector. So the how we go about doing our work, the spirit with which we engage our communities, the values of co-creating in addition to providing services, the value of engaging all voices and making sure that everyone has a seat at the table is key and in fact a differentiating force for our sector and society.
I understand. So ideally, these are obviously big ideas. How, in a practical way, do these organizations start to really engage with the commitments in ways that can drive change?
Well, that really starts today. If you're watching this program, you should have received a kit that gives you an opportunity to begin to explore these commitments with your leadership teams, with your staff, with your boards. We invite you to make some initial prioritizations around which commitments are very important to you as an organization, and then use that as a guide to shape your national conference experience. We've aligned all of our content specifically to each of the commitments to help you on that journey, and we invite you to start doing that today. This fall, the Alliance is going to be rolling out our assessment tool, and that's an opportunity for organizations to do a much deeper exploration of where they fare in terms of living out the commitments.
Let's see. Well, as we've rolled out the commitments and as we started to talk about it, we know that a lot of people around the sector have shown enthusiasm for what the commitments are about and the kind of change that they can help drive. And in fact, some of them have sent in some videos that help to express that enthusiasm, and I think we can roll that tape now.
I am energized by the commitments of high-impact organizations. The reach of these commitments goes beyond the nonprofit human-serving community, as the public sector also drives toward a system that is truly person and family-centered, modern in its approach, and focused on outcomes. These commitments provide an important frame for leveraging the experience and influence of both sectors to achieve collective impact.
We're very excited at the Foundation about the commitments by the Alliance. We think that these commitments are incredibly relevant to the time and to our particular geographic domain in relation to staff development and evaluations in relation to sustainability and diversification of revenue streams.
We're particularly drawn to the commitments of partnering with a purpose and co-creating with community. We will continue to work with government, with private nonprofits, with constituents, and of course with the Alliance for Children and Families to build communities of hope across our country.
Creating lasting change requires a collective response. Being committed to partnering with purpose means future efforts will not only be aligned, but they'll be much more strategic and better able to take on the complexities of our community's challenges.
I'm especially excited about the commitment related to leading with vision. Indeed, we are faced with some challenging times, which places a demand on us as leaders to lead in a manner that is courageous and in many ways disruptive and able to do so in spite of the ambiguity. Really excited to know that many of our human service organizations across the country, and in fact globally, are doing what is necessary, standing up and being ambassadors on behalf of those we have the privilege and the honor to serve and lead.
We're excited to partner on these commitments as reflected in our 10-year commitment to the development of the primary client model that we practice at Congreso. That is to lead with a vision and measure what matters.
I think nonprofit organizations who see themselves only as service providers are not going to make it into the next century as thriving organizations. I think it will be essential to involve community residents, neighbors, program participants, and clients in our work in a meaningful way.
The partnerships will help strengthen the service delivery, as well as authentically engaging people of all ages in helping to make their community strong.
The commitment the Alliance is making to actually have residents at the center of the work, as leaders in the work, finding many roles to co-create the future in neighborhoods. That, to me, is a major step forward.
Because of the commitments, more human-serving nonprofits and the communities they serve will have brighter futures and better experiences.
All of us are trying to determine how we can create greater impact in partnership with children, families, adults, and our communities. The Alliance is serving as a touchstone, as a model, and as a guide to help all of us increase our successes.
Those video endorsements show really the interest and indeed incitement there are about the commitments across the sector from a lot of individuals that we've come in contact with and exposed them to. So now it's time for you to begin at your organization to engage the commitments and learn more and begin to receive the benefits of working with them. You have the event kit that you received that has some materials in it that lets you start to take a look at your own organization in terms of the commitments and where your priorities for advancement might be. Something you can look at solo or ideally with your executive team or your board to start to identify the priority areas. Something you'll want to do very soon is to register for the Alliance National Conference in October because all of the sessions there, as we've learned, have been sorted according to the commitments that they help to address, and you can really go in and dial in the sessions that are of greatest interest to you. The early bird registration for that ends in just a few days, so you'll want to do that very soon. You also have materials from us, the brochure that's enclosed in the event kit. Online is the full report about the commitments. You'll receive an evaluation from us soon with links to all of the material we're talking about, the opportunity to look at this program again, but also to register and let us know if you would like to be a pilot site for that very robust assessment tool that will help organizations really dial in and understand their maturity vis-a-vis the commitments. You should also continue to watch Alliance communications for updates. Watch e-news because, again, in a very robust way, we are tracking all of our content according to the commitments, and it's being infused through everything. So you'll learn more by watching our communications. That's really how we went to the call to action for each organization now. I'd like to welcome back Susan Dreyfus, who is going to help us finish off the program here. And Susan, we've learned a lot today about how individual organizations can engage the commitments to achieve high impact. But I know that the big idea is bigger, that the commitments will have an effect across our network, and really because our network is so large across the sector in general. Can you address kind of what your vision is for where this will take us?
Yeah, thanks, Doug, and thanks a lot for this great program. I think it's just been really wonderful. You know, I think about executing on mission, one of those commitments, executing on mission. I think about the Alliance's vision and mission to strengthen the capacities and the influence of America's nonprofit human-serving sector so that together we can realize strong society and healthy communities for all children, adults, and families. That's our mission. So how do you execute on that? Well, I get the opportunity in my job to fly all around the country. And I love at night when I'm flying in an airplane and I look down and I see all those twinkly lights down there. And I truly think of those as beacons of light. And I think of those beacons of light being America's nonprofit human-serving sector. We're more than providers of programs and services. We're powerful transformational agents within our communities. We really are about this larger call that we have to what is it going to take for us to have a strong society and healthy communities for all children, adults, and families. So we believe that with and through the power of this network, we're going to execute on our mission, and that is to make sure that all children, adults, and families in the United States of America have the opportunity to live lives to the fullest potential that they have possible. So our sector has a larger calling, and I'd say to everybody out there, this is our time. This is our time of differentiation. America needs us now more than it ever has before. And I think through the commitments, we've got that pathway forward and our ability at the Alliance to execute on our mission.
Well, thank you, Susan. Today's not been only just informative, but also inspirational, I think. And we obviously have lots of people to thank for helping the commitments come to be. And again, for all of you, you know who you are, the pilot sites and all of those who have helped to fund and to provide the background. Thanks to everyone. There'll only be more to come. That's really it. I hope that you've learned a lot today. And again, we're here to provide whatever resources we can, so please engage us. On behalf of the Alliance for Children and Families, thank you very much and good afternoon.